You've still got to look at just asking them to give to the family unit what they're capable of giving to the family unit. And a 2-year-old realistically can put the lid on their own toothpaste. They can put the toilet seat down. They can help their brothers and sisters. When the brothers and sisters are cleaning up, they can hold a pan. They can carry an empty milk bottle out to a garbage bin. They don't because, well, if they're a bit older, they play the con job. They go, oh, I can't do that tonight because I'm so tired, Mum and Dad. I can't pick my gear up because I'm so tired. Because I played netball today, I'm really tired. And you go, that's okay, darling. You don't have to do it. I'll do it. It's fine. I understand how tired you are. Then they go into their bedroom. Right, how many times a night do your kids press buttons? How many times iPod, iPad, all the different electronics and their computer? They're in there and they press buttons, what, 100,000 times? 6 million? I don't know. It's a pretty big number. So you're saying that your kids are too tired to go sports bag in the washing machine, power on, start. But they're going to go into their room and stay up for 3 hours talking to Amanda and talking to John and texting and tweeting and all the other stuff that they do. But they can't go power on, start. Well, they can't because you accept it and you allow that to happen. Right? So, guys, choice is yours on how you parent. And you've got to dig your heels in very, very early and don't back down. Don't back down. It's not going to be easy. You'll get tantrums and complaints, but at least now you can say, Wayne said. They'll get you off there. Use me as a scapegoat. I'm quite happy to do that. The other thing is to make sure that the standards that you set are their standards, not your standards. So a really interesting conversation I had, because since I've been here over the last 2 weeks, this time 2 weeks ago I was still on a plane coming into Christchurch, but I've done Invercargill, Dunedin, Christchurch, Welly, Auckland, Gizzy and here in that time. And so 2 or 3 days in each place running seminars. It's been a really good tour. I had a great chat with a woman was talking to me about her son is a rugby player down in the South Island, and he's 17. And she said, I want to talk to you about this, it's really important. You can see she was very emotional. And she said, I keep talking about how important rugby is, and I keep talking about if he tried hard, he could make so much of his life. And if he gave more to it, he could probably take the next level. And I keep telling him, and this is just, so what's happening? And I said to her, have you asked him what he wants? And she hadn't. And I said, well, what I want you to do, I'm here for another 2 days, try the veal. I said, I'm here for another 2 days. I want you to go and talk to him tonight, look him in the eyes, and ask him why does he play rugby? What is it about rugby that excites him? Why does he love to keep playing rugby? Rings me the next day and says, he said he's had enough football. And it's a pretty extreme case. But she'd never at any time, she was trying to apply her expectations and her standards and what she desperately wanted for him as someone who loves him more than life itself. I completely understand it, but never at any time said, what do you want? And that's why it was never going to work. So that's really important. So understanding what it is. There's a great line, you first seek to understand, then to be understood. And I think that's so critically important. Is it your wishes or their wishes? Yeah.
Would you select bigger teams so that you can have, or if you're not committed for this duration, then you don't make the grade in this team and pick your bags?
Yeah, a bit of a loaded question. What sport?
Oh, football, for example.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you put that
if you picked a team on commitment only, it'd look generally very, at young age, anywhere from 10 to 15, if you picked on commitment and not playing ability alone, the two teams would look significantly different. If you picked them on how difficult their parents were to deal with too, it'd look generally very different too. So, at a young age, it depends on your philosophy as a coach. If you've been hired and they look you in the eyes and say, win the 12-year-old soccer championships, if that's what you've been paid to do, you are obligated to your employer You have to figure out how this sits with you morally, ethically, philosophically. But if that's what you've been paid to do and you accept that job and the KPI says win the under-12s, you've got to pick a team who can win the under-12s. Whether it's right, wrong, you've got to respect what your employer is paying you to do. You can try and change them and influence their behaviours and influence their philosophies. Yeah, I see this all the time, is that you can get them and you can try and influence them, you can try and teach them these things, you can try and help them. But if your KPI as a coach is you must win this representative championship, turn that phone off. Was that yours? Then you're obligated to do it. Me personally, seen some amazing kids in 11 and 12-year-old rep teams. Very, very poor indicator. If 16-year-olds, if that's a poor indicator of professional football, 11 to 12 is an incredibly poor indicator. And someone always say, oh, there was a kid here, Bay plenty 20 years ago, he's now playing for Auckland. And, oh, you know, he was completely different. So what's that, one in what, 50,000, 100,000? There's always one. Somewhat, but the outliers, very difficult to apply that to every child in every sport, but they do come along. Guys, one of the things that I think it's important for you to think about is this. Who's heard about the player or the athlete development pathway? One of the myths about an athlete development pathway is this, is that I think a lot of parents think that that's what the pathway looks like. He's up here, he's professional or Olympic Games or whatever it might be, and the kids come on at 11 and they progress and they go 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and they keep going and all of a sudden they're at the top. Completely wrong. Completely wrong. Doesn't happen like that. Looks like this. That's more realistic for an athlete development player. For the majority, ups and downs, good times, bad times, hard times, tricky times, injuries, illness, growth and development, changing coaches, changing teams, family problems, exams, that's more like what you've got to deal with. Very, very rare, incredibly rare, that they start out there as a 100-metre backstroker and they just keep getting faster and faster and faster and faster and they make the New Zealand team as a 100 backstroker. Very, very, almost nil. What they might do if they're a swimmer is they might go 100 backstroker, 50 butterfly, 200 freestyler, IMR, 200 backstroker, 100 freestyler. If they're in the sport and as their body and their mind settle down, they will find a path and they'll find something that really fits them physically and mentally. But parents, one thing I want you to promise me. There is no such thing as a champion 10 or 11-year-old anything. There is no such thing. All there is a child, because of a range of reasons, physical, mental, genetic, growth and development. Remember, if a kid's really good, it's genetic. If they fail, it's a stupid coach. That there is no such thing as a champion 11 or 12-year-old. All there is a child, for whatever reason, just does that thing a little bit better than the other 11 and 12-year-old at that time. And at that time, after all the years in sport, I don't know what your kids are going to do. I've never seen a test that can test an 11 or 12-year-old. There's probably a genetic test you can do. But I haven't seen a test where I can go, I tested this 11-year-old and I guarantee you they will be the best in the world. If anyone sells you that, don't buy it. Don't buy it. Very important, parents, to do this for me. Never introduce your young child as the something. Yeah, never introduce them as, this is my child, the backstroker. This is my 10-year-old, the rugby player. This is my 9-year-old, the footballer. This is my 7-year-old, the netballer. Why? Why would I say that with such conviction?
Good pressure on the child.
Yes. Not just pressure, identity. You're saying to them, I, the person whose love and acceptance you crave more than your next breath, see you as a netballer, a footballer, a swimmer, a squash player. What a dumb sport squash is.
Second hardest physical sport you can do.
Mate, anyone who names a sport after a vegetable that nobody likes. I just have a bit of fun with Davis. having gone up and down the country, he is seriously one of the great leaders in coach development. You guys are very lucky to have him, and that $50 later will be much appreciated. But he's doing a hell of a job, I promise you. Right, but guys, what happens if you tie their identity in, the way that you feel about them and the acceptance of them as a human being into what they do, and they can no longer do that thing? And that's the danger, that if you believe this model and you introduce them as the netballer, and they go netball, 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 and this part of the leg grows faster than that part, or there's a bit of a physical change and they can't play netball so good, you go to another netball coach and you go, oh, they're no good, this other coach over there doesn't know how to look after Susie, she's a GA, she's always been a GA since she was 5, and now she's 11, she's not playing junior anymore because that stupid bloody coach up the road, he's got no idea what he's going. Coaches is a good lesson for you, the way they come is the way they go. Parent walks in and says, that last coach is bloody hopeless, got no idea, no respect from me, can't work with my kids, absolutely awful. That's you in 6 months. Right, so parents, promise me, just don't do it. You might introduce them and say, this is my daughter Susie, she's so wonderful, I love her to death, playing a bit of netball now, seems to like it. Right, just who she is enough. Who he is enough. Another little trick, parents. Coach's little trick for you. Happened to me the other week. Little guy comes in, wants to have a swim in my pool. Said, John. What was his name? But it'll do. Changed the name to protect the innocent. John, great you come down. What is it about swimming that you love so much? Mum answers, One cross. So thanks for that, Mum. So John, what stroke do you really love in swimming? What is it? Your butterfly, backstroke? What is it that you really love to do in the water? Mum answers, 2 crosses. So, oh, thanks, Mum. So, why did you choose Helen and I's program? You got a lot of choice around there, some really great programs here. Why did you particularly choose us? Mum answers, you're out, 3 strikes. Here's a card. There's a friend of mine coaches 10 k's down the road. You just give him a call. He's probably the better coaching option for you right now. If you ask a child, if you look at a child as a coach trying to make a connection, and Mum speaks for them, chances are you're buying into a big pile of rubbish. So just don't do it.
What about Dad though?
That Mum or Dad? I always say Mum because poor Mum gets sucked into doing it most of the time because us dads are doing all sorts of other silly stuff. But, and just a final one, I want to share a story with you before we have a break. Oh, you've got to go now. That's all right. That's okay. Was it something I said? I know what you're doing. You're going to get the good sushi. Smartest one of the lot. Going to get the good sushi. Guys, just an example of something that I know no one in this room would ever do. But this is something that did happen to me. I coach a triathlon team, and my cycling coach she's a great Olympian. I got to tell that story. Sarah Carey, Olympic gold medalist 2004, and she's my cycling coach, takes cycling programs. This is one for the mums, just so you can tell this story. And you know that when you tell all us stupid blokes that having a baby is the hardest thing anyone could ever do, we could never imagine it because we're just blokes. And here's a story for you. Sarah Carrigan, the toughest female cyclist I have ever known, has done 1,000 kilometres in a week, has done the women's Tour de France, has done sprints up some of the most horrible mountains in Switzerland, Germany, Austria, you can imagine it. Said to me, Goldie, just had a first baby, Goldie, that is the hardest thing I've ever done. Not going to argue with it, so there you go. Keep that one. Hardest thing, someone who's done 1,000 Ks a week says having a baby is the hardest thing. And she had a relatively normal birth, so there you go. But Carrie said this, but I want to share this with you. This is the way not to do it. Mum brings this little kid down, I do the swimming and the running, Caro does the cycling, so we're doing a run session. Mum's brings down this guy, let's say Johnny again's a good name. So I look at the kid and I say, don't drop your board, I said to him, was the first thing I said, but I said to Johnny, I said, mate, coming down for a run with us, that's really good, looking forward to it. Mum says, oh, he's not much good. He's not real good as a runner, you know. We're going to give him a bit of a try, but he's pretty hopeless. Going, holy hell. Kid's only 10, right? He would give anything for this woman, and I'm just, she got stuck with doing it. She would give anything for this woman to say, I love you, I care about you, you're wonderful for who you are. Or for me to go, mate, this is going to be great, you're a great young athlete, and she's beating the crap out of him in front of me, who I'm going to try and build a relationship with and help him along the path to realising his potential. And I said, oh, look, that's fine, we don't have a lot of great runners here, we just got a bunch of tries, we have a bit of a run. And I called over one of my athletes, 15-year-old, and I said, hey, Cass, can you take Johnny for a bit of a run? It's his first time. And then she turns to Amiel, one of my girls, and says, don't speak too much, he's pretty bloody hopeless, you'll have to wait for him. Oh, seriously. This absolute gem of a little guy. And before he has even a chance to get on the field, he's just been embarrassed and humiliated by the person whose love he would do anything to get. Guys, if you feel like that, not everybody's parent, not everybody's child is a superstar, and they don't have to be. Whatever you do, please, don't use that as an example. Don't use that as an example. We ask them to do the best, and that's all we can ever ask. All right, let's have a break for 15 minutes.
Yep.